Hello again, and welcome to another day of working on my Mercedes-Benz S500, the ultimate daily driver. I think the last time I left you off with this, we were doing some suspension. I believe I showed you really bad bushing. Well, I sort of cheated on you a little bit because I did that side and didn't have the camera on. I think the camera was charging. I just got impatient. But I am going to show you what I forget what it's called. The ball joint, right. Apparently the heat's getting to me. The ball joint and what a good ball joint and a bad ball joint look like. So I got a kit and it came with the lower control arm. I believe this might be called a thrust arm. I'm not quite sure. Mercedes and eBay have different sort of nomenclature. But here's the good ball joint. And this is pressed in. And I had to get a special tool for it. That tool is down there. This tool, if I can put it down somewhere, you open it up, and it's basically a C-clamp with these little fittings. Now this goes over this guy right here. This goes right inside, and this gets either pushed out into this, or you use this and push it back in. I know it sounds a little bit confusing, but I will show you how to do it on the other side. But right now, see, this is a good ball joint. You see it has a good rubber boot. I mean, it's blue, and blue means quality, apparently. It's nice and silver. Again, I don't think that these are the best quality, but they will definitely do the job it was meant to do. This, however, I think this is probably the stock one, and as you can tell, I mean, I'm pretty sure I was driving on this the 1,000 miles, and this was just, I'm going to try to focus on this. Look at this. There's zero grease in here. It's supposed to be all greased up. This, it's really hard to move. Like, I'm trying really hard, and it's not moving. I'm going to have to use two hands to kind of move it around. And this, you shouldn't be able to do that with a ball joint, especially not on a car that weighs 4,000 pounds. And the same goes for here. So there's a ball joint under here. There's a dust boot. This gets taken off. I think this is just for shipping and whatnot. But this is the old one. This is the one from my passenger side. And as you can see, it's just this. There is grease in here, so it wasn't going to fail, tomorrow. But what happens is when the dust boot breaks, the grease gets contaminated with debris and whatnot, and that all dries out. And then you get something like this, and this is seriously dangerous. If you see a car with a ball joint like this, you need to change it ASAP, because that's no bueno. So that side is done, and yeah, this is a complete mess because I got my cabinets and everything. That's going to be another episode when I actually do my garage. But I haven't been able to do anything with my tools. They're just all sort of strewn around. Right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this side. And I know a few of you have been not complaining, but kind of clued me in to the fact that I don't actually show you what the work looks like, the work that I'm doing. So I'm going to adopt a style by this guy, Chris from BS for Build. I'm a big fan of his. If you haven't subscribed to his channel, go subscribe because it's way better than mine. Yeah, I'm going to do sort of fast forward and maybe have some music in the background. Who knows? But for now, I'm going to be taking off that wheel. I'm going to be doing the brakes. Now, I do have the rotors like over there, and I have new rotors and pads. I put on a rotor on the other side. I spun it, and it looks like it's sort of out of round. It looks like it's oval. They have been sitting for a while. I don't know if rotors can warp just by sitting. Maybe it's just a crappy rotor, but I measured the rotor on that side, and it's within spec, even though there's like a little bit of a lip on the outer edge, which is actually fine. So I put on new pads on that side. I'm going to put on new pads on this side. I should be okay. I'm going to keep those rotors around. I might have them milled just so I'll have new rotors you know, in case these fail, like there's no signs of cracking. These are cross-drilled, and there's no signs of cracking. There's no signs of warpage. So I think these are good to go for now. But I'm going to do the brakes. I'm going to do the lower ball joint. Well, I'm going to do the ball joint and the lower control arm, and basically just spruce everything up. I have a really good cleaner that should clean up the underside of this car. And yeah, we'll see how that goes. I think I'm going to need to speed this up. Now, for those of you who are wondering why I don't actually have studs, lug studs coming out of the wheel, it's because German cars, a lot of German cars, Mercedes, Audi, BMW, they have lug bolts. And these are a little bit harder to put in, but they actually are a little less easy to strip. Even though they are steel, they can, as you can see, this one has a little bit of surface rust. I'm going to be putting these back in. I'm going to be putting in a anti-seize onto here, just so I don't have any problems with taking it off in the future. And it's the same thing with lug nuts and lug studs like you would see on any American or Japanese car. So here is the brake rotor. Now, it's in pretty decent condition. A lot of these brake rotors, especially on German cars, especially in Mercedes, they have this little lip around here because when the pad wears in, it doesn't make 100% contact. A lot of people say that you should really change these because they're like a one-time use. They're not. They're just like any other rotor. The pad actually, since it doesn't make contact with the edge, it doesn't really matter all that much. And these still have lots of life left in them. So I'm going to use this because, again, the set I got from eBay, they're supposedly an OEM quality set. I spun it around and this thing was like wobbling all over the place, and that's going to translate into a lot of vibration. I know that for a fact. So all I'm going to do, change the pads, change the sensor, which yeah, looks like it's almost on its last legs here. Then I'm going to get this entire hub off, and we're going to see what the suspension looks like. I think this side is a little bit better than that side, but yeah, I guess fingers crossed. First thing I'm going to do is take off this little Torx bolt. This is just kind of a keeper to make sure that when you're installing the rotor, it doesn't move around. It's like perfectly seated. And this is a T30, so, and I think it should be pretty easy to take off. I've never taken this off before, so I might be eating my words. Ah, there we go, hand tight. So the back of this caliper, it's actually a pretty weird size. It's a 18 millimeter, which is falling all over my floor apparently. Now these are on pretty tight, so what I do is, hold that thought. All right, what I do is I take a regular hammer and you take a ratchet that has a lifetime warranty. Thank you, craftsman. And you have sockets that keep falling down on the floor. And what you do is you put it on the actual bolt, make sure it's on there. And this is a poor man's impact wrench. So you just give it a few. Make sure it doesn't slip off the bolt. There we go. That's one, and here's a second. And that's how you take off loose bolts with a hammer. and a ratchet. Another thing I've started doing on these projects since I've gotten my own house and I don't have to work in my parents' garage, or driveway rather, is I got myself a few of these hobby boxes. These are like $4 or $5 at Harbor Freight, and they have removable little boxes, and all I do is store bolts in there. And when you're doing a project, any project, little bolts, you forget where they go. So if you're doing something that's very, very intricate, you can put like a little note in here saying that this is for the valve cover, or this is an oil filter, retention bolt. I don't even know if that exists, but whatever. So this is for the brakes. I'm gonna put my lugs over here, making sure that they don't go anywhere. And a little brake keeper Torx thing, that's also gonna go with the brakes, so I know where that goes. But yeah, these things are absolutely indispensable. They stack on top of each other. I got 2 of them, and I'm probably gonna get more. They come in different sizes, and if you would need extra storage, these come right out. So can't really get better than that. I think I could just, there we go. All right. There. Good. We're done. So again, this should be the last time we're removing this rotor. All right. Ooh, that is one heavy rotor. That is quality. Shine a light on here. Okay, so this is the hub. What we're going to need to do is we're going to have to take off. Let me get this camera off. This upper ball joint mount, which actually looks like it's in decent shape. There's no rips or tears. Yeah, I can't feel anything. That stays the way it is. That's basically keeping the strut on. That's fine. No, it's not leaking. I gave everything a sort of dusting of like silicone lube, so it's everywhere. It looks like yeah, it doesn't look like a fun time, or maybe a really fun time depending on who you are. And let me get some light in here. So we're going to be replacing that, and also this entire bar. Jesus. Yeah. So this entire bar. That, and then we're also going to have to take off this tie rod end. So 3 bolts, and it's going to be sort of a pain in the ass because I don't have any air tools, and these they're a little bit hard to do just because I don't have something called a pickle fork. And a pickle fork, you would put this into here and it would separate. I also don't have a ball joint remover tool. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to remove this nut, back it out a little bit, like just a few, I guess maybe 5 turns or so, and then I'm going to hit this with a hammer, and that's going to break the taper. And I'm going to have to do that for basically all the components here, and then this should just basically come out. All right, now here is sort of the moment of truth. Now there is some tension on the suspension. That rhymed. I'm going to hit this thing with a hammer and try to break the taper. You only have to hit it maybe 3 or 4 times. Anything more than that, and I think you're at risk for maybe breaking it, or let's see. Let me see if I have a tool for this. All right, so I actually did manage to find this, and this is a ball joint remover tool. I don't exactly know if it works at all with this application, but let's see. So what I've read is just the fact that this is on there. Actually, I don't even think it's going to work at all, because it has to be. Yeah, I think this is a little too wide. See if maybe I could put it at an angle. Ooh! Ah, that worked. That worked awesome. That was great. All right, so now we just take this off, and voila! That's not bad. And this actually, I mean, it's not in the greatest condition, but it's still okay. I mean, I see the dust boot hasn't perished, and it's still in okay shape, and the control arm is still holding tension, so that should be fine. I don't think I'm gonna have to change that. But the rest of this, it's a little worse for the wear. It's not as bad as the other side. The other side needed changing like ASAP. This could have waited, but since I had all the parts available, you should definitely do both sides, just so you know exactly what the car has. So what I'm going to do is something you probably shouldn't do if you're going to be putting on these parts and you're not replacing them. But since I am replacing them, it doesn't really matter if I do it. So essentially what I'm going to do is put this nut, just thread it, this nut, there we go. This nut, I'm going to thread it onto the bolt head, and since I don't have enough room for me to get my my puller tool on there, I am just going to hit it like hell with a hammer, because I'm going to be replacing the entire part, the ball joint and everything, with the bolt and the nut. So I should be able to get it off like that. I don't think I'm going to do any damage to anything else. But yeah, if you need to get the part off, like, who cares? Just hit it, you know, as many times as it takes. This is going to be loud. Got it. And the reason why you don't want to do this is right here. You see, I mushroomed the hell out of this bolt, but that's okay. This is not really focusing that well, but I mushroomed the hell out of it. It doesn't matter because I'm using a new bolt anyway. New ball joint is going in, so oh well. And we are almost free. Look at that. And here's the ball joint. I'll show you that a little bit later. It's not actually in a horrible shape. I mean, it's still definitely usable, but we're gonna change it anyway. What we did need to change is this guy right here. So you can see, oh man, that is not good. And yeah, that's not normal. So here's the tie rod. Tie rod's in fine shape. Yeah, there's some resistance there. Here there's zero. Look, I can just wiggle it. Yeah, that's not good. But everything else is pretty okay. I mean, this is damn near rock solid. What I'm gonna have to do now, let me see if I can get some light on here. So this is gonna have to leave. It's gonna have to go bye-bye. It's a bunch of these little 10mm clips. They're plastic bolts essentially. So there's a bunch of these around there, and I'm just gonna take this off. That way I can get to this bolt. There's a bolt that goes through here. So there's a bolt here, and there's a nut on that side. The side that I have zero light on. So yeah, let's take this out. Then everything goes back together, hopefully as one piece. But right now there's so much room for activities. Okay, so those of you wondering what a underside of a Mercedes S-Class looks like, this is the, I'm guessing it's the dryer for the air conditioning system, and this is the air tank for the suspension. So it's a pretty small air tank. That's why when you press a button in this car, the air suspension, it sort of goes up and down slowly. It's not as fast as say like a Range Rover, or definitely not as fast as aftermarket systems with huge tanks that can just release a ton of air, because as you see there's like this little wimpy line coming out of it, but I think it gets the job done. It's not rusted or anything, which it shouldn't be because it's made of aluminum. Yeah, so what I'm going to do now is take this bolt off, and then we'll put everything back on. The way to put this back, oddly enough, is you can't tighten it down. And the reason why you can't tighten it down right now is because the car has to have the weight on its wheels. Because there's only a certain amount that it can, I guess, flex, like right here. So you put it in like this, you don't want it to be cocked sideways. So it has to flex a certain amount. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the bolts. I'm going to put this in, mount it up the way it should be, and then I'm just going to put the car on ramps, have it sit on its wheels, and then I'll torque it down. So here comes the actual hard part. This ball joint needs to come out, and the only way it's going to come out is with a lot of force. So that means I'm going to have to use this C-clamp in conjunction with that breaker bar, and this big ass bar that I took for my Harbor Freight jack, that's going to be used as leverage. So I did the other one on the other side, and it was a pain in the ass, but you guys will see how it looks with me doing this side. Hopefully it should be a little bit better. And actually, before I start, the way it works is this part, this big ass socket looking thing, this goes over this entire assembly, and you connect that to this, and this part will be basically like a pusher. So you put a 24mm socket on a breaker bar on here, and you push this into here, and that's going to push on here and that's going to push this ball joint, I can't even say the word, ball joint out. And the way you put it back in is take this out, and you take the smaller one in, and that fits over. There's like a little lip here. Underneath this, there's like a little lip, and that goes on here, and you basically do the reverse. You're doing the same thing, you're tightening, but this is just putting pressure, and then, yeah, that's pretty difficult. So let's see what that looks like.
When you want to get off the darkest ground, but gravity pulls you straight down. Earth from a bird's eye view.
Whew. Okay. So that was, man, that was a workout. Okay. So to take this out, we should have a ball joint that's removed. Ta-da! Bam. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some lube in that hole, giggity, and I'm going to put some lube on the new part that kind of looks like this. And you see this little lip. That little lip is what's going to be pushing this in, and you see these are like splined, and those line up with the splines here. I don't think that it's super important that these have to be like totally aligned, because the sheer force is just going to force this onto here. So I think it should be okay, but you have to lube this up really, really well.
When you want to get off the darkest ground, but gravity pulls you straight down. Earth from a bird's eye view.
Oh my God. Well, that's done. So, as you can see, we got the new ball joint in there. Now the only thing left to do is to put everything back together and torque it to spec. Let's rush through this because I still have the brakes to do. It's getting a little dark, and yeah, let's get the show on the road.
When you want to get off the darkest ground, but gravity pulls you straight down. Clear sky.
Now I got these 3 bolts snug enough. I got them on there with my trusty little driver, but you're definitely going to want to torque these down. Now the torque values on these, I believe it's like 50 Newton meters, which equates to around 36 foot-pounds, but then it's like 60 degrees. So it's a little bit weird. I don't have a torque angle gauge, but I do know what 60 degrees looks like. It's a little bit more than like 45. Good enough, like if you're doing torque values plus kind of a good enough estimation, you should be fine. I'm not over torquing these things a lot or under torquing them. Should be just fine. So what I'm going to do is I have my torque wrench here. I'm going to put it on, let's see, 36 foot-pounds. All right, there's 36. Lock it, and then try to find the tool that I was just using. The reason why I haven't put the top upper control arm mount on is because I won't be able, if I have this fastened, I won't be able to torque everything down there. So I'm gonna just move this out of the way. And you can already see that there's a lot of resistance here. And that's the way it should be. It should be nice and firm because there's a lot of weight on here. You don't want stuff flopping around and like there's a lot of resistance here. So, all right, that's that. And then I'm gonna do a 60-degree, which would be something like that. Gonna do the same thing for the bolt underneath here. Now just the tie rod. Usually you don't really want to use an extension for it because the extension can throw off the torque values. But honestly, if it's for something like, you know, if it's for something small like this, that really doesn't really matter. It's not spinning around a lot. It is moving, but honestly, this should be good enough. You just don't want to over torque. Okay, and want to do maybe like, since this is 90 degrees, this is 90 degrees, so I want to do it maybe like here, so almost to the bumper. All right, so those three are torqued down. Again, I'm not torquing these down yet. I'm going to get the car up on ramps. It is getting a little bit dark, so I don't think I'm going to get the car out because we do have a nasty bug problem and they all come out at night. So I don't want to open up the garage and have 10 million bugs in here. But I might have a better idea. I might just put the car up in the air a little bit more, put it on the wheel chocks, and sort of slide under there and see how that works. But one step at a time. Also, if you notice, I bent the hell out of my dust shield here. And what's good about a dust shield is you can bend it right back. So just bend it back, and it's like it never happened. The perfect crime. One thing that I don't think a lot of people know, and I was actually clued in on by Tom's Turbo Garage. If you haven't seen that channel, stop what you're doing right now, go see it, subscribe. Awesome, awesome content. But he told me in one of his videos, he said that scrubbing bubbles is pretty awesome to clean pretty much anything on a car. It's good for interiors and it's really good for stuff like this. Obviously, we're not going to be putting it on the brakes. I mean, this isn't any rotors or calipers or anything. But to get rid of this stuck on grime, this is awesome. And it also smells pretty good and it's cheap as hell. So I got a 2-pack for like $4. So what you want to do, shake it up and just spray everything here. So this one's going to be 16 foot-pounds plus 90 degrees. So that's already 16 foot-pounds. 16 foot-pounds is like barely hand strength. So 16 foot-pounds plus 90 degrees. So that should be like that. Okay. All right, I think we are good to go. Now the only thing left to do is the brakes. Okay, so now I took off the caliper from its temporary zip tie mounting brackets, or whatever mounting situation I had there. And here it is. So the way it works is this is one big caliper. And there's two pads, one on either side. And here's a pad wear sensor. Now this wear sensor seems to still be good. Just disconnect it right here. I do have a new one. You always want to replace these, but if they're still good, I don't know if you can reuse them. I'm going to try to kind of take this one out and see how it. I'm pretty sure it's just going to get broken. I mean, it's a little cracked, but take a look at this. I can't even see where that is. All right, so that is, that's what the wear sensor looks like. All it is when this gets worn down, when this little nubby gets worn down, that sends a signal because this circuit gets completed. And that sends a signal to the ECU saying that the brake pads are really low. This was zip tied on the other side. It looks like some joker wanted to do the brakes and he didn't really care about the wear sensor. The wear sensor is almost to the point where it's like wearing out. So I do have a new one. I will be installing that. It goes right inside the pad. But the way to get these out is you can see that there's two little pins going across here. And there's this like spring looking thing. So what you have to do, and what's gonna have to happen here is I'm gonna have to press down on this spring, and there is a bit of tension on it, but I'm gonna press down on the spring, and I'm gonna try to wedge this pin out. And when I wedge the pin out, then the spring can come out, and this pin can slide out, and the brake pads can slide out. So that should be interesting. I'm gonna use some vice grips, and I'm gonna grip it, then basically just tap it out, because there's a little like a little detent right here. It's you have to tap it out, otherwise there's not really any way this is coming out. Just by me, trying to get it out. It's not seized or anything in there, and I don't think I'm gonna break anything, but just a little bit difficult. There we go. Clamp that down, and then just give it a little. All right, now that's coming out. See? So this has a little detent at the top there. Let me see if that is not even close to being in focus. Yeah, so there's a detent right here, right at the top. It looks like it's a snap ring or something, and that goes in here, and that makes sure that the pads aren't going anywhere. I am going to clean this up just a little bit, just get some of the corrosion off. It's not in bad shape, but it always, if you're doing it once, you got to do it right. I didn't get new hardware with this, so I'm going to be reusing the old hardware. It is, all it has is some brake dust, so this is perfectly fine. I'll just hit it with some brake cleaner, and we should be good to go. So here's one of the pads, and geez, looks like they didn't put any shims on here or anything. Like, you're supposed to have these, well, that would explain why it was squeaking. I was having this really nasty squeaking sound when I would reverse, and I guess this was just wearing away at the pad itself. There's supposed to be a like a metal protector here, like a shim, and that wasn't on there at all. And what you're supposed to do, you're supposed to put some grease on it, some brake grease, so it doesn't squeak. But The pads themselves, I mean, they're worn down, but it's not horrible. You know, it's still usable, but yeah, it's these are junk. We're gonna put one of the pads back in, and if it even fits in there, I know it goes in there. And we're gonna use a C-clamp. What we're gonna do is we're gonna C-clamp the front like that, and we're just gonna compress the pad. Now I know a lot of people wouldn't usually do a C-clamp on the front of this because this is like painted and stuff. Honestly, this paint is in really bad condition, and I am going to be redoing the entire thing, so that's at a later date. I don't really care how this looks, so I'm just gonna clamp it the way it would regularly be clamped. And again, you don't want to overdo it, but this just compresses the pistons in the caliper. Compress them until they're flush, and then you release. And honestly, it doesn't really mar the paint or anything. It's fine. And you want to do the same thing on the other side. So here are the new brake pads. Just for reference, look at the thickness of this and look at the thickness of that. I mean, this is maybe, it's like 3 times as much. Well, like twice as big. You can't really see that. Let's see. There we go. Yeah, it's like, it's a lot. So, I think we are well overdue for this mod. Now, this brake pad, a lot of people, think that you should just put it in and forget about it. But there is a specific procedure. It came with this. This is a anti-squeal or whatever shim. This acts as a barrier between the caliper and, well, between the piston and the brake pad itself. And these things are a little bent, actually. Just gonna bend them back real quick. All right. And come on. It's your home. You're too good for your home. Okay, so I actually screwed up, and I had to take off a brake pad from the other side. Good thing that the car's still in the air. It was relatively easy to take off, but so there's a little bit of a difference. There's a hole right here for the brake pad wear sensor. And that brake pad wear sensor just basically slots in this little groove right here, and then it goes into a hole in the brake pad itself. Now this brake pad, taken from the other side, has this hole nice and close. But this other brake pad that I installed, that one has it pretty damn far away, and I guess this is for another. I have no idea. I don't know why that is. But 2 of them came like this, and the other 2 came pretty far away. So I basically, in order to get the wear sensors where they should be, I took one pad off the other side, and I'm now putting it on here. So both sides should now have wear sensors. The way you put it in is just slot it in like that and like that. Just clips in. Pretty damn easy. now the car is done for today, and I just got the wheel chocks on. I torqued everything down to its manufacturer recommended specification, and yeah, it really wasn't that hard. I mean, you can see that I'm extremely dirty, but it's not anything that anybody can't do in their own garage. So next time, I think we're going to be doing some more maintenance, but just the engine this time, because now I still need to do the back brakes, but you know, those are still sort of okay. I'll do those later on, but the engine definitely needs some attention. So that's getting done next time, and yeah, but I thought this went pretty well. Yeah, it was a good day. But as always, if you like this video, please like, comment, subscribe. If you didn't like the video, dislike button is right there. I like to hear feedback, you know, whatever you want to put in the comments. I will read it. I read all the comments all the time. It takes up a lot of my time. But next time, tune in, and we will get more of this car done, and that'll get the ball rolling as far as you know, when we'll put some actual modification on this car. So yeah, I'm excited. See you next time. Bye.